Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. It's great to be with you today. We are beginning what is going to be a series of lengthy issues discussing each position group on the Las Vegas Raiders 2025 team as we move forward towards my projected 53-man roster. Today, we're going to begin with the wide receivers. Now, last year, obviously a different regime. The Raiders carried 6 wide receivers, which is pretty traditional. Sometimes you'll see a team kind of cheat and take 5. Some take a little bit more, take 7, but for the most part. So for right now, we're going to go with that number that the Raiders are going to keep 6. I believe there are 4 locks on the team to make the team that barring an injury, I don't see a way they don't make it. And I really think there are 5 that are pretty certain, meaning one more that I think it would take a lot for them not to make the team. And that name may surprise you a little bit. So I think there's one really open spot and one potential if somebody just plays out of their mind. So let's start digging in. First of all, the most underrated wide receiver in the National Football League dropped no passes last year. A guy who is very well liked in his locker room. He's respected, no drama. Even before the drama percolated last year with Davante Adams, he was the best offensive player on the team. And that, of course, is Jakobi Meyers. Great kid. And he is a terrific wide receiver. It blew my mind during the draft process. The Raiders needed wide receivers, but people are like, the Raiders don't have a 1. The Raiders need a 1. He is a 1. He's been a 1, and he's one of the top wide receivers in the National Football League. Arguably 2 years ago, should have had an even much better year if Davante, in my opinion, wouldn't have thrown a temper tantrum and demanded the ball more, even though Jakobi was productive. And the Raiders, in my opinion, foolishly kept trying to feed Davante when it wasn't there. It hurt him 2 years ago. Last year, he feasted and ate, and he was tremendous. Now he's coming into the last year of his deal. The Raiders need to keep him. The Raiders have had multiple inquiries about him from other teams. He ever hit free agency, he would never look back. He'd be gone. I know that he wants to be here. I know he desires to be here. He's not holding out. He wants to be a Raider. He loves the Raiders. This guy's Mr. Productive. There's no drama with him. None. With a lot of wide receivers, there's a lot of drama. None of that with him. There is no uppity. There's no nothing. He just keeps his mouth shut, works hard. Now, I have a very good relationship with Jakobi. I don't think he'd argue with that at all. And he's just not a humongous talker. But he lets his play speak for itself. He lets his play speak for itself. This guy is a true number 1, a true north, Mr. Reliable. Now you put him with Geno. Geno, who is incredibly accurate. And this is a guy that dropped no passes last year. Go back and watch the film. I know a lot of you DVR all the games. Go back and look at every catch Jakobi made. They weren't all great throws. One thing you're going to like about having a Geno Smith is Geno Smith's going to put the ball on the dime, and you know that Jakobi's going to catch it. He's a rock solid wide receiver. He'll do anything. Consummate teammate. The Raiders are really blessed to have him, and he's number 1 and should be number 1 and would be number 1 on a multiplicity of teams. And if the Raiders wanted to have moved him, there was a trade market. They don't want that. Patriots love him. There were a lot of people in the Patriot organization furious when he got away from them. Furious. And I was told by someone in the organization that it sent Mr. Kraft through the roof, that there were people really frustrated with Bill Belichick when that happened. But this is Jakobi Meyers, most underrated wide receiver in the NFL, one of the most underrated Raiders, an absolute superstar. Great player. The number 2 wide receiver on this team, and it's probably going to shock you because he's a rookie, is Jack Bech. And he is number 2. The guy dropped 1 pass last year in college. One. Now, I want to check something real quick. Okay. 1. Uno. So your top 2 receivers dropped 1 pass combined last year. He was the best blocker in this draft. He runs like he's mad. This kid, he has a tight end, middle linebacker mentality as a wide receiver. And let me just check one thing real quick. I mean, he's 214 pounds. He's not a little feller. And this kid can run all over the field. Zero fear. Zero fear. You run him on a drag route across the middle, he ain't afraid of anything. Bech's mentality is, you want to run me over the middle? Fine. But hey, linebackers, before you think I'm a sitting duck, get ready because I'm coming for you. Now, I'm going to tell you something that I did not see pre-draft, and this is totally my fault, and I confess it to you, was I went back and I'd watched his film because I knew the Raiders loved him. I knew they had a first grade round grade on him. I knew several teams did. No one thought he would be available in the second round. Not a snowball's chance in Vegas in the summer. Nobody thought it. When he fell to the Raiders in the second round, they were shouting hallelujahs like an evangelical choir. I mean, they were excited upstairs in the Intermountain building. There was a lot of excitement. They stole him, completely stole that kid. And they get him now. And here are some things. So I was very familiar with him. But one thing that an NFL executive had told me after the Raiders picked him is how quick he gets upfield. You know, you see guys who catch the ball and they kind of go down and then they turn and it's just one motion. Ball hits his hands and he's upfield. Just, it's a thing of beauty. Just gone. Up the field. Up the field. Just, I was watching some film of him this morning in preparation for this podcast and was just like, I can't believe I didn't pick up on that. Again, my fault. But he gets his head and his body on a swivel. There's an old saying, that kid can stop on a dime and give you 9 cents change. Just rotate, gone. And he creates separation because he's physical, but he knows how to do it without his hands, uses his rear. He is just a complete package. I don't think he's going to get Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year on the Raiders. Nobody's taking that from Genty. But Jack Bech is instantly your number 2 wide receiver. And that's not disrespect to anyone else that's been here. It's just putting some respect on the kid's name. That youngster, and you put him with a Jacoby, a Brock Bowers, there's a lot there. That young man is a quintessential football player. I think he could play a lot of different positions. I'm not saying he should, but I mean, he's just got that mentality. He's just tough and he's got good hands, great hands, or he'd probably be a safety the way he plays. Could you imagine him in some goal line situations coming in and just being a jackhammer? Huh. That, that's his new nickname, the jackhammer, Jack Bash. Could you just imagine him? I know he's a wide receiver, but dear Lord, lining him in a safety position and run support the way he likes to hit. He's a tiny Max Crosby. Bam! That kid's fun to watch now. You know, a lot of wide receivers, they catch the ball, they run, and they run out of bounds. Okay. I like wide receivers that go searching contact like a heat seeking missile or like a jackhammer. That kid, man, I'd love to meet his mom. I bet he came out of the womb and said, "Where's the doctor? Who slapped me?" Damn. He just plays the game with an edge. He's aggressive. He let's go. Let's fight. I love that about him. He's got a lot of Jackson Powers Johnson in him from a receiving standpoint. You know, JPJ, salt of the earth kid. I love JPJ. Love him. And I love that if you met JPJ off the field, you would never, even though you know what he looks like, you wouldn't recognize him because when you watch him play, he's just mean. He just, let's go, let's fight, let's scrap. Then you meet JPJ off the field, and he's the guy every dad wants his daughter to marry. Just the sweet, he's just a peach of a human being. I just genuinely love JPJ. He makes me laugh. Great kid, just a great kid. And Besh, everybody tells me same things about him. He is going to bring an edge. If you like hockey, you know what it is when a team has an enforcer. And Jack Besh is that kind of guy. He's just going to bring that physical edge to the wide receiver group. He's gonna lay the wood down. And usually you're thinking about that from a safety or a linebacker. Besh, man, you just go to your Webster's dictionary, look up the word Jack Besh. It says see toughness, see grit. He's just an old school Raider type of guy. If you can't tell, I am all in on the Jack. I never thought the Raiders had a shot. I thought if they did a couple trade downs, probably 2, maybe 3, I thought they had a shot. But if you'd have told me going in the draft they were getting Jack Besh in the second round, I'd have told you, ho, 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 Merry Christmas. Love this pick. Love it. He was my favorite receiver in the entire draft. There's a couple others that I really, really like. But to me, a lot of people love Tet. And let me just tell you, I think Tet is a great wide receiver and a superior kid. I love Tet McMillan. Love him. And if you'd have told me the Raiders where he was going to go were not going to spend, nor should they have a pick on him. They weren't a wide receiver away. So for me, the next pick for the Raiders was Jack Beck. I love Besh. Great get. And again, love Tet, but the Raiders weren't going to take him as high as I knew he was going to go. I thought Besh would drop a little bit just because he didn't have the name recognition. I thought he would drop a little bit. But I'm going to tell you, everybody I talked to, Besh, 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 loved him. Then the third guy, Trey Tucker. What a great kid. And I want to check something here. I want to talk about Trey. He's their third best receiver. He's a guy that is going to benefit so incredibly well, by having a Geno Smith. Talk about a guy who, I mean, this guy to be able to play with a Geno Smith and what he's going to bring is going to be phenomenal. He's going to bring a lot to this team, and he's going to bring something that I'm excited about. Talking about with Trey is he's now going to have somebody to put the ball in his. Trey Tucker, when he first got to the Raiders, struggled with drops his rookie year. He was a guy they couldn't trust. Then last year, all offseason, you could tell he just worked his tail off in a jugs machine. And he goes out there and just crushes it. Crushes it. Give that young man a lot of credit. Struggled a little bit in training camp, but got right back on track. And then his problem last year was nobody could get him the ball in stride. How many times did you see him open down the field and he has to stop? That ain't happening with Geno Smith now, boys and girls. That ain't happening with Geno. Geno's going to be like, Trey, take off, brother. I'll get you the ball. Don't slow down. Geno's going to put that ball right on the money. Right on the money. Now, here are some questions about Trey. He's 5'9". Allegedly. Now, I've stood next to him a lot. And by the way, y'all would just love him. He is, again, not a typical wide receiver. Does not take himself too seriously. No diva in him. Or heretofore, there's not been any diva in him. You never know. People can change, but I don't expect it with him. He just put his head down, work, and he's always very accommodating, very warm. I think you'd be hard pressed to find anybody with a bad word to say about Trey Tucker. But he is 5'9". Now he's lightning quick, but he's 5'9". Now a guy who I think's going to push him is Dante Thornton, the Rook. He's 6'5". So, and he's a legit 6'5". So you got 8-inch difference between these two guys, and Thornton runs a 4.3 flat. Not 4.3 and change. 4.3 flat. And I'm told that there were times at his previous school that he had been gauged sub 4.3. Now, I'm going to be honest. If it was not for the person who told me, I just could not believe that. I'm going to choose to believe it based on who told me. But at that size, moving 4.3 flat is phenomenal. Sub 4.3 is just like, what? So this is going to be, I think, Trey, and not because of Trey. So Trey can run a lot of really interesting routes now. He's got the full complement of a route tree. Thornton doesn't. Thornton doesn't. But he's also a rookie, and you don't need him to have that right now. So imagine if you go with 5 wide. Okay. And so you got Jacoby and Bash, Tucker and Thornton, and Brock Bowers. Empty set. 3rd and 9. 52 seconds left in the game. Down 4. Think about that. Or 4th and 9. Think about that. But Trey is a guy that he just brings. He's a veteran now. He understands. He had to overcome the drops. He spent that time on the jugs machine. He's grown up. Now, every time I say that, invariably somebody who's new to the podcast, oh, were you saying he had maturity issues? No. But when a kid comes out of college, 21, 22 years old, now he's got money in his pocket and life's a little bit different. Every kid coming out of college has to grow up. Very few are adults. And all you need to do is think back to you. I'm thinking back to me. But he works hard. And Trey spent a ton of time on the jugs. And he deserves all the credit in the world. He was very unhappy with his rookie year. And he was not willing to sit around. He went to work. And you saw that last year. Last year, I am sure him and I have not discussed this specifically, but I am sure last year was incredibly frustrating for him. There were a lot of yards, a lot of points, and a lot of success left on the field. They just couldn't get him the ball. Some of that purely quarterback fault. Some of it coaching fault, schemes. In my opinion, Luke Getsy. Then later in the year, when they started to address that, then it was more quarterbacks struggling to get him the football. But you got Trey and then you got Dante. And let me tell you, 2 guys with that speed, 2 guys with that speed, 2 guys with that ability to just stretch the field. Can you imagine what that could? He's not the same, but Trey Tucker reminds me a lot. Remember back in 1983 when the Michigan Panthers won the USFL championship? They had a wide receiver named Anthony Taylor. They called him, Anthony Carter. They called him the Smurf. That's Trey Taylor. Just little tiny guy. Just if you're running Dante deep on a 9 route, remember I told you some call him 9, some call him a 7, and you can run that guy. Just have him go and sit down and duck and just go. It's going to be fun watching Tuck this year. Tuck coming. He's coming. I think Geno Smith's going to be good for him. And then let's just talk about Dante Thornton. He's the 4th guy lock. He going to make this team. He is big. He is physical. He loves to block down the field. He's not as aggressive as Besh, but he's not a wallflower. And with that speed, oh man, again, he has to develop his route tree. And they're going to work with him a lot on that. And the kid has the work ethic to develop it. He did what he was asked at Tennessee, which is a completely different offense than the Raiders. So it's not because he can't. It's not because he wouldn't. It's because he didn't have to. Well, he's going to have to now. And there is no concerns about his willingness to work hard. Everyone I've spoken to, and I've talked to 2 or 3 people from Tennessee, say he's going to work to do whatever he's got to do to develop himself. I'm excited about this opportunity for him. Next, a guy that I think has a great shot. I don't think he's locked in like the first 4, but I think somebody's going to have to flat out beat him. And it's going to shock you because he's coming from as a late round pick, Tommy Mellott, former quarterback out of Montana State. He doesn't have the ability to play. I mean, I've heard someone say, would the Raiders keep him as a third quarterback? No, he doesn't have the ability to play quarterback down in and down out in the National Football League. He's a Julian Edelman. He's going to do pass returns. He's going to do kick returns. He's going to play wide receiver. He's going to do a lot of different things. He's an artist with the ball in his hands. He'll be able to throw some on trick plays and specialty plays, but he's not a full-time quarterback in the National Football League. But what he is the kid's a competitor now. Kid's a competitor now. And he can just do stuff. I had somebody send me some film on him, and it was really cool. His ability to make himself small. Now, let me explain if because in case you don't know what that, I know most of you do, but for those of you that don't understand what that means, is this: a guy's got the ball and he's running, and 2 people are coming at him. He can duck below, he can jump over, but a guy that can make himself small can get real low to the ground and still not stop running. That's where being short helps. I'm not saying Mellott is short. He's not Trey Tucker. But other things you can do is turn sideways. And somebody sent me some film of 2 different holes he ran through where he's running through the hole sideways. Y'all hear what I just said? Running through a hole sideways. So instead of showing the defense shoulder to shoulder, you're coming at it sideways. Now you go from 15 to 20 inches to 5. He just does some things with the football. He's going to make this team. The other 4 are a lock, barring an injury, unless a trade happens, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But Mellott, I like this kid, and I like what he brings to this team. I like what he brings to this team. Just that Pete Carroll always keeping you guessing. What's the mad scientist thinking? You know, the Raiders have had a mad scientist for a defensive coordinator in the great Patrick Graham. Now they got that tinkering guy, and Chip Kelly, and you never know what Pete Carroll's thinking. You never know the aces he's got up his sleeves. You had a Tommy Mellott, some interesting stuff there. You'd bring him on some interesting plays, some creativity. Good stuff there. Now, the Raiders got other wide receivers. And let's talk about him a little bit. Alex Bachman. This is a kid out of Wake Forest. Has shown a little bit. Got to show a lot more. But he's a potential to 6 spot. A legitimate potential. And a real potential. I would not bet against that kid at all. Then you come into a Jeff Foreman. Now, this kid really intrigues me. Y'all might remember he suffered an injury last year in Costa Mesa. I'm this before anyone runs out and says, no, sir. Listen, I do not believe he had made the roster when he got injured. but he was playing well. And he was getting some pub. I had been talking about him, others had been talking about him, and he had a shot, and he had a devastating injury. Don't rule that kid out. He is toughness personified. Comes out of Arkansas State, 6 foot, 186. He's just got he's got a little something. And again, last year, I'm not saying he'd played himself into a roster spot, but there's a lot of talk about him. And he had a shot. And Pete Carroll is the coach you want when you are a guy from Arkansas State who's not a first big rounder or a UDFA. Because he don't care. He don't care. You're the best player. You're gonna make this team now. Remember the name Jeff Foreman. Okay. Here's another one. Shedrick Jackson out of Auburn. Another interesting name. Just another interesting name. I just do I think he's going to make this team? No. But he's competitive. He is competitive. And there's a little bit of juice there. And when I talk to people, that's what got him this opportunity. Now it's going to be up to him. Can he put it on film? But that's an interesting name. Then here's a guy last year that did some stuff. I think he's got a legitimate chance to make this team. Do I think he's the lead for it? No. But Tyreek McAllister now, he did some stuff last year. You were like, I talked about him and wrote about him a lot. You're like, wowza. Good night. I like that guy. I like him. And I would not bet against him. I think there are several people with legitimate shots at being the sixth guy. I think he's got a legitimate shot. Another one I want to talk to you about. Kyle Phillips, kid out of UCLA. Now, 5'11", but he's a little bit of a Sonic the Hedgehog. Remember that old video game? He's all over the place. And crisp, very crisp, runs crisp. Just and flew. I like the way he comes in and out of his breaks. I think he's got a shot. I think he's a shoe-in. No. Do I think he has a shot? I do. Just remember that name, Kyle Phillips. All right. And then last guy I want to talk about. And if I had to pick based on who's on the roster today, I would think this guy, if I had to pick my roster today, will make the sixth spot. I don't think anybody's a shoo-in and it's going to be competitive, but it's Christian Wilkerson. He was very impressive last year in training camp. Had a shot a couple of times and didn't make the most of it. But he's young. And, the kid comes from Southern Missouri State. Didn't come from a big school. And this is going to be a big time chance for him. Big time chance for him. And I like him. I like his style. But there's a lot of youth. Tyreek's going to push him. And then if him and Tyreek are going to make it, somebody's going to have to beat out Malott. And Malott's a Swiss Army knife. He does so much. He brings you position versatility. Because now you don't have to keep an extra running back for punt and kick returns. Because he does that too. Malott makes your roster bigger, not smaller. That's why I think he's not a shoo-in, but man, I think he's got 5. Somebody's gonna have to beat him. I think Wilkerson's a guy too. Plenty of good wide receivers on this team. Now, I told you I was going to address trade, and I am. If I had to guess today, I don't believe that the Raiders, all of the wide receivers who will be on this team to start training camp are on this team yet. I think there's a chance they could do a free agent. I think there's a chance they could make a trade. I know that they did discuss some trades. Plus, there's going to be some guys get cut, maybe later in camp. If I had to guess right now, if I was told you have to pick the 6th guy, the 6 guys from that roster would be the 5 I told you, and probably Christian Wilkerson or Tyreek McAllister. Okay? But if I had other options like the 6th guy isn't on the roster yet, or a 6th receiver, that's probably where I would go. But I hope every one of those kids have great camps. Great camps. And we'll see what happens. Going to be a really interesting time. The Raiders are very young at wide receiver, very young. But they're also very, very talented. A lot of talent there. You know, Besh and Thornton are going to make rookie mistakes. So that's why I think Trey is cemented at 3. And thank God you have a Jacoby and a Brock Bowers and others. But there's your position breakdown for the Raiders. Appreciate every one of you. Have a great day. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow and digging in some more tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.